Boro Aboye. There's this great Yoruba proverb. It says, decapitation is not a good solution or is not a good remedy for a headache. Decapitation is not a good remedy for a headache for obvious reasons, right? Because you started off with a headache and then you ended up dead. Okay? And so dead is obviously much worse than having a headache. It means that before you can call something a solution, you have to make sure that it's truly aligned with the desired outcomes. All right. Otherwise, you can go from bad to worse or from headache to dead. Okay. This is the School of Orisha Studies, and I'm your instructor, Obafemi Origunwa. Today's lesson is all about why. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Okay. And the importance of understanding why is that when you lose sight of why, then you're going to obsess over what. Okay? When you lose sight of why, you're going to obsess over what. Right? Now, within Orisha lifestyle, this is very important. This is a super important lesson for you as the practitioner at any level of your development, because there's so much that you can get into. There's so much what. Okay, there are rituals, there are ceremonies, there are powders, there are soaps, there are creams, there are icons. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. It's almost limitless, honestly. And within each one of those, you can specialize in a discipline. You can just specialize in powders. You can just specialize in the recitation of verses. You can just specialize in rituals and ceremonies. And when I say specialize, you can really dedicate 5, 6, 7 years of your life to full-time study of any one of those disciplines. There's a lot of what. All right, there's a lot of what. But the extent to which you obsess over the what will be a reflection of your blindness to the why. So stated another way, the more blind you are about why you're doing what you're doing, the more you're going to obsess over what you're doing. All right. And so right now, what we're seeing is this huge proliferation of what? Spiritual materialism, as I call it. People are becoming more and more obsessed with what, and they're just consumed with what. And then what happens with what? Once you obsessed over what, then it degenerates further into arguing with other people about how. Okay, so one group of people will say that, you prepare this in a certain way, and another group of people will say you can't do it in that way, and then right, and they get more and more dogmatic and more rigid and more aggressive about fighting over what and how you do what, how you make the soap, how you make the powder. All of those things are completely blinding you to the reason why. And at the end of the day, it ends up being a situation wherein people are arguing over whether or not you should decapitate the person with a machete or a butcher knife or a fishing knife or a butter knife or a meat cleaver, right? And everybody is arguing about what kind of blade you're supposed to use to decapitate the person. What, and how? Do you start from the left to the right, or do you start from the right to the left? Are you making little whole bunch of incisions all the way around? And you can see all of this argument over what, and how. But almost never do you get a real clear picture of why we're doing any of this in the first place. That's your red flag. When you cannot see anybody really zeroing in on why we're doing this in the first place, you know you're in the wrong room. And when I say why, I don't mean the immediate outcomes. I stop the headache. It isn't about stopping the headache. We're talking about big picture why. Why have we been blessed with all of this content and all this spiritual materialism? What's the purpose for doing all of this? At the end of the day, how are we going to really measure our success so that if we don't end up cutting heads off in the name of, remedying headaches? You need a really big picture. You need a real clear definition of why any of this matters. Now, of course, Ifa tells us why. Ifa says that we're here as people to help bring about the good condition. And the good condition is essentially reducing all threats, minimizing all suffering and anguish, and being of service to the people who are in need. We sacrifice, we use wisdom, and we practice generosity so that we can be of service to the people who are in the greatest need. Those are the people who we're here destined to serve. That is what Ifa tells us we're here to do, to bring about the good condition, as stated in the Holy Odu Irosun Iwori. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So you can always gauge whether or not your procedure is really accurate by its relationship to the good condition. If you can draw a line directly from what you're doing to the good condition, you're on the right track. If you can't find the good condition in anything that you're doing, you're, again, in the wrong room. If you're having these long, prolonged conversations with people and they're, going to the nth degree about the procedure and the methodology and the temperature and the, intonation and all of those things, but nobody can tell you why you're doing what you're doing, you're in the wrong room. It's very, very important that you get clear about why. The second why, however, doesn't require that you hear anything from anybody. It doesn't require that you hear a verse of Ifa or an elder from one tradition or another tradition tell you why. There's a why that is born in you. You chose your why. The only reason that you could be here on this plane as a person is because you chose to be here. If you are a practitioner of Orisha lifestyle, this is intrinsic to our practice, intrinsic to our theology. Every individual who is here because Ori chose to be here. Ori said that I will be born in this place at this time. These will be my natural gifts and talents. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to show up. That's the only reason why you're here. If your Ori did not make a decision in the prenatal state to come here, you would not be here. So by virtue of the fact that you're here and you're hearing this message, you already have a why. You chose your why. Now it's just a question of remembering your why. It's a question of accepting your why, embracing your why, and becoming the best at mastering your reason for being. It's here, okay? So part of it will require, some real simple methodology and practice on your part. Just sit down and make time every day. Really make time every day. Look at the situation that you face. I'm going to tell you a secret. The thing that you complain about most, the thing that irks you the most, the thing that just continuously frustrates you and you just can't seem to go left or right without seeing it, that thing is probably an indicator of your why. It's something that is tipping you off to a problem or a situation that is not satisfactory. It could be better. Okay? And so you need to go within yourself and discover, where is this coming from? How come I'm complaining about this? How come this is standing out so much? Why does it bother me so much? And what could I do about it? Right? That's where your empowerment and your freedom comes in. What could I really do to solve this problem? What to me would be the greatest solution to this problem? If I look at this and I think, one day, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this thing, if it were completely solved and that thing was removed, what would it look like? What would the world look like? And that becomes your visionary goal. That becomes your why. That becomes your compelling reason to get up every morning and bring something good into the world. So what I want you to do is, I want you to make time every single day, and I want you to contemplate what you really want to do, what problem you really and truly are destined to solve. and give a little bit of energy to that every single day. It could only just be 15 minutes, but you owe yourself that much. In a 24-hour day, you can dedicate at least 15 minutes every day to thinking about, why am I here? What problem can I solve? And what steps can I make today to, get myself a little bit closer to the thing that brought me to the world in the first place? Okay? That will free you up from being distracted by a constant barrage of what. Aboru aboye, aboshishe.